All right, welcome to another video from the chart reader. So today we're going to look at the major markets. You can see we're starting with NASDAQ and we'll go through the rest, the S&P, the Russell, and the Dow. Overall, it's looking a little shaky, so gonna be a little pessimistic across this video, right? I think you can hopefully see it before we get into it, right? But as always, what are we gonna do today? We're gonna look at the daily and the weekly to see what's setting up. We have our 5 moving averages, these horizontal support and resistance lines that I do manually draw myself. And then when we're done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Again, 80% of the work is here. The 20% down here is that cherry on top, right? That confirmation if needed. So, what are we looking at right now? I mean, we'll talk about the immediate, don't get me wrong, but this thing went on a pretty good downtrend, started going horizontal, and again, one of two things tends to happen. It either flies or it drops, right? And right now, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the 5 in the cluster, and the fifth line's really not that far up, right? So really what we're looking at is this 100 line, okay? We struggle, obviously, right? We went over the downtrend. We start going a little more horizontal. Good run to the 100. I like the fact that we're able to bounce off the 50, right? Then bounce off the 20. That's huge. Those are supposed to be good things. The problem is we didn't break the 100 after that, right? Again, we can't get over the 50. We're barely struggling to get the 20. Then we start using them as support lines, right? That's supposed to be big enough to get you through the lines, right? As you capture this, you go to this. As you capture this, you go to this. As you capture this, you go to this. Once you break the 200, it's smooth sailing, right? So the hope really was that this bounce from the 20, establishing this, was going to give us the dominance that we needed to break it, and clearly it didn't happen. And look, it should not have fooled you, right? Number one, we never crossed it. Number two, the doji next day never counts, right? Number three, look, we've talked about this setup so many times. One big day candle, the next day it has to at least break this one, let alone this one, right? So I don't care that this is green. We couldn't get over that. That it means nothing. And I always say this setup is bad, and you can see it right here, right? What I really don't like, look, this is the top of the channel, this is the bottom of the channel, this is the middle, right? Give or take. I'm not talking exact to the penny. But we're clearly on the lower side of this channel now, right? The cluster, whatever you want to call it, right? Whatever I want to call it, I guess, sorry. But we're now so dependent on this 50 moving average. And look, the reason this one is red, this is my death line. This death line has been the death line since around June, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even a little bit before June. So this line has been huge, and there's not that many lines between these intentionally. There's been a number of places I could have done it for a long time, but these are our magic numbers, I'm telling you. And we either need to dominantly break this, or we will horribly lose this. It's one of the two. And I've been beating that drum for a while, right? And look, I know people are really optimistic about we're still in the downtrend, right? I don't have to draw it. I'm going to just draw it real quick. Hopefully you see it, right? But from here, we're still well below, right? Because again, we start at that corner, we end up hitting here, not here. So that establishes the slope, right? So that's not good. And again, what I'm actually kind of starting to see is we're now going back to making new steeper downhills, right? So that could be really bad. Again, let's see how it shapes up though, right? But yeah, overall, I'm definitely I'm actually very, very pessimistic. I'll be honest with you. Couple reasons, right? What's rule number one? Get over the 8 moving average. If you're under the 8 moving average, you're not something I like. 1, 2, 3. We've been 5 days under the 8, right? We're now 4 days under the 20. If we lose the 50, we lose the cluster, right? And this day was good. Don't get me wrong. I like that we bounced off the 50. This was the doji, right? So it looked like we were going to tank. Doji right here. This was supposed to be the good day. We didn't get the follow through. We actually lost the entire candle the day after too, right? Ugly MACD, RSI is really irrelevant. And look, all of these days, out of the last 6 days, there's only been 1 day of buying, and all 6 have been under the 50 moving average of volume, right? We're normally averaging around 30 something million. This thing's 20 million, right? That's not good. So a lot to be worried about here. And simply put, if we cannot get over 11.2, it's gonna be bad. We need to get over this cluster. Otherwise, we lose this, and then the death line comes back into play. Okay, so very scary. I'm not gonna lie. Look at this, right? Look how tight this cluster is. An immediately tight cluster. It looks, and look, I've said it enough, that the 200 is huge, okay? If you can break the 200 on the weekly, monstrous. If you lose the 200, just as monstrous, but obviously the other way around, right? Instead of continuing this uptrend, breaking these lines, we actually lost 2 of them in 1 week, right? We must at least get over the green line by Friday. Again, I'm going back with this 11.2 number. Has to get over this 11.2 number. And then that still keeps us in this cluster. Otherwise, this is going to continue, right? We're going to go down, horizontal, down. We've seen it a number of times. The goal is down, horizontal, up. But hey, if the technicals don't say it, what are you going to do, right? We're not going to sit here, cross our fingers, and hope. So QQQ, this is the ETF equivalent. And again, almost the same chart, right? I called this out a couple times. QQQ actually got over the 100, okay? It got over this day, and this day. Real quick, not to just beat on it, but look, NASDAQ, same 3 days, never got over, right? So again, use these. The reason that we're looking at all these different things is to find similarities or outline some outliers, right? So would this have saved any money or something? I have no idea, but it definitely caught my attention, right? I'll tell you that much. Nonetheless, same number of days under the 8, same number of days under the 20. You know, this is a little bit more sitting in the middle just visually, right? Like this cluster isn't quite at the 50% line. Nonetheless, I'm real worried that we're in this bottom part of the cluster versus this top part, right? So we either get over those 2 lines or we lose this line. I don't see much of an in between, you know what I mean? So again, volumes going down, MACD starting to get ugly. We're not that far from the 0 and negative point, right? So I am worried here. And oh, not again. Again, look, this is a difference right here, right? This did not lose the 8. It actually looks like it's over the 8. Yeah, literally by 6 cents it looks like, or over the 8. But hey, I don't care if it's by a penny or whatever. Over is over, right? Nonetheless, when we looked at NASDAQ, we lose both the 8 and the 200, right? So again, these should be doing the same thing. The fact that they're not, look, hopefully this helps as another bounce point that the other one didn't have, right? Otherwise, hey, you know, it's just an anomaly for no reason, right? But yeah, NASDAQ not looking good. So let's move over to that. Let's start with the SPX, the S&P 500 itself, and then we'll go to the ETF. So almost the exact same story, 4 lines out of the 5, just different lines. Same 3 days that it tested the 100, it being the NASDAQ. The S&P tested the 200. Same failure that we saw, right? So really a lot of similarities, but again, not a good thing, right? But again, I shouldn't say that. Let me take that whole thing back. It's good that they're doing the same thing. It just sucks that they're doing bad things, right? The real important thing is I want them all to be doing the same thing. It's important to the technical analysis. There needs to be this cohesiveness between the majors. It's critical. Just sucks, like I said, that it's bad. What I don't like here, again, if we lose this, that's a pretty hard fall, right? With the NASDAQ, the fall wasn't that hard. The death line was pretty low, right? This is a fall. And it would not look good to go from almost 4,000 right back down to 38.5, right? So, and look, if that falls, we like it when this is a red candle and we're filling it up. This is the reverse. We're going to gap down real quickly to either 38.6. Hey, maybe this will stop it here at 39. But yeah, all likelihood, we're coming straight to the 50 at 38.50. You know what I mean? So this is not good. This looks a lot like the NASDAQ. So that has me, again, like I said, pretty scared. Ugly MACD getting closer to that 0 and negative. RSI is definitely tight, but look, there's a definite downtrend right there, right? So not liking that. And again, volume, horrible. Literally just 2 days out of the last, I don't even know. I'm not going to try to do that. I'm not going to count all that, right? But ugly S&P. Weekly, again, look, it looked like it had a beautiful uptrend going. We're definitely under the, oh, we're not. We're not under the 20 or the 8. Yeah, we're for sure not. We're at 34. 31 was the 20. But nonetheless, if we lose this cluster, we're actually coming to 36 on the weekly, right? So that 38 hopefully holds. Otherwise, again, there's a lot of reason to believe it's 36. And then after 36, we haven't talked about the death line on the S&P 500 for a very long time. But the fact that the death line is visible should have you a little worried. I'm generally an optimist, right? I think you've known that watching my videos. I want things to go up. However, when things are not going up, I'm not going to sit here and pretend, right? I'm going to make some plans, and I'm either going to make money on that, or I'm just going to sit on the side and not lose money, right? One of the two. So just be realistic. Don't try to be this ignorant, always bull thing, right? So again, SPY, the ETF equivalent of the SP-500, exact same chart. The 3-day 200 test coming down, still this bottom of it, lose this, pretty hard fall down, right? Exact same setup, exact same setup. And look, this one's actually the same. These both did not lose it, right? So a little more harmony with these two, not as much with QQQ and the comp. So I really need to figure out what the Russell actually is. All I have is the ETF. Oh, man. So look, I was dead wrong on the last video, okay? I will not pretend I wasn't. I'm not going to make any excuses why I was wrong, right? Look, I thought massive break, decent second one, and instead of closing under, it closed up. That's bullish. This should have done way better, and I expected it to do better. Instead, the very next day, it just slaps me in the face and says no, okay? From there, look, technical analysis is not about being 100% right. It's about setting yourself up with an expectation and then adjusting when it's wrong. First off, I would have expected a gap up, not a gap down, and starting here, right? Second off, once you lose two, you know it's bad, right? Once you lose a third one, come on, right? So hopefully the rest of it would have been really easy to avoid. But yeah, I sincerely expected this candle to start here, go green, and end above the screen, right? Like go up here. So yeah, I was wrong on the IWM. I sincerely thought this was going to take the place of the Dow Jones on the top. Clearly, it's actually lost the cluster and is now sitting right at the last line, right? This is what it seems like the S&P 500 is about to do. Lose the cluster, come down. So it looks like what NASDAQ's about to do. Lose the cluster, come down, right? So real scary here. And yeah, I was wrong. Nothing else to say. Ugly weekly. What? I mean, look, I hope you've seen enough of my videos to know it, but one more time. 1 week, lose 3. Look, next week is either going to be real hard confirmation and we're coming down here. It's either going to be a doji and we're going to stay here and the next week's going to matter. Or, maybe we'll come back to 50% and end up here. My guess is we either come down to, like I said, the 173, 172 range, or we maybe stay at like literally 177 and a doji, okay? And then the week after we come down here. Right now, my guess is we're coming down here. So be careful with the IWM, for real. The Russell looks real bad. And one more time, I was super wrong. And one more time, let me just explain again why. big break, good confirmation, like at least not horrible confirmation, right? We're above 50%. We're still above these two lines. The day after, we definitely get higher than this, right? I like it. I guess I wish we got over that. But again, I was bullish. I was wrong. So, hey, learn from my mistake right there. Then we go to the DJ30, okay? The DJ30 is now not looking in a good place, right? One more time, just zooming out. The Dow Jones has been killing it, okay? The problem is this is the first time we've actually lost the 20. Okay, that's huge. We were supposed to use the 20 to bounce up, not lose it and trade under it that whole time, right? So just zooming back in, unless we get a massive gap up and close over 3,400 flat, we're coming back down to 32.5. It's sad but true, right? And look, this is a 3-line cluster. This will be really hard to lose. So hey, maybe we come down here and then bounce back up. But right now, that's not a good MACD. Definitely a good distance between here and 0, right? And again, that's a real big cluster. So I don't think we're gonna see this like boom, boom, right? And look how far we are from the death line, right? S&P 500 was way closer. NASDAQ's literally knocking on the door. Dow Jones has a good buffer, right? And a much higher MACD, right? So, hey, maybe Dow Jones still has some time to drop, recover, and bring the others up. Nothing will be super bear until they're all under this. Nothing will be super bull until they're all over the 200, maybe a little bit higher based on the downtrend itself, right? But right now, I am worried about the Dow Jones, and I'll be real honest with you. I'm going to make the inverse video after, but someone just talked about the SDow on one of my other videos. Look, this is the exact opposite, right? It looks like this is about to trade from here to here. Right? So, hey, like I said, don't pretend things are rosy. Make a plan. Either try to make some money on the inverse, take some money out and don't lose it, right? There's a bunch of different ways to play it, but the strength has been amazing, right? Amazing. This is the perfect reason we love the 8, right? Just trade up with the 8. You're supposed to use the 20. Look how close we were to the golden lines too. I haven't even talked about the golden lines, right? Every other one, we talked about the death ones. These ones wanted to hit my golden lines of trading, right? No, too hard, just too hard to get up there, right? It's like the miner. No, I'm not gonna make a silly miner joke, but hey, again, this looks scary. One last time. Weekly, again, monstrous weekly. Last week, we just gave up the last 3. That's not a good thing. This is the lowest. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. This is the lowest it should have gone. We should have gone only lose 1 candle. Then we should not have gone lower than 50% of this one. Then we lost all of that one. Come on, get out of here. Obviously, we lost the 100 moving average. That's not good. Losing 3 candles in 1 week. Come on, get out of here. That's not good. As bad as that is on the daily, it's horrible on the weekly, right? So Dow Jones not looking good. There's a good cluster here. So hey, maybe it'll actually be a little hard to lose this 33 line, right? Because the 50 is pretty much, 32.9, right? So where's the 33 line? Yeah, hey, maybe this will save it and it won't even come to the cluster. But again, seemingly, if you lose this, and you lose this, you're coming to this. We've lost this. I mean, we're seemingly coming down here. So be careful again, one more time. Let's just look at the DIA, but can't expect anything different, and we don't. So overall, we looked at 4 ETFs, 3 major markets. They all were setting up for danger, right? So unless you see a monster gap up on Monday, expect the bad, right? So just use that for whatever strategy. But I always say it, if the markets are bad, your individual tickers will not do well. So just trade accordingly again, okay? I sincerely hope you're learning. I thank you for your time. Have a great one.